positive thing about a long road trip means there's a lot of time to chat. That is when your mid 80s parents are awake enough to talk. Yeah. But um, I don't recall how we began talking about my dad's surgery because I think we were telling stories of previous North Dakota trips. The only one I clearly remember is a childhood visit in December, cold as hell and by train. It took us 45 minutes to drive to the train station because it was in a nearby town, not so nearby. And that was more than a little inconvenient for a preteen. The blessing, we took the overnight train, so I slept for most of the ride. And when I say cold, I wasn't joking. It was more than 20 degrees below zero, about minus 30 centigrade, when we arrived at my aunt's house. This 2015 trip was the only one, other than the 2015 trip, that I remembered. After we rehashed my train recollection story, my dad took over. The first thing I learned was how many trips my parents made to North Dakota over the years. It sounded like several, although no specific number was given that I recalled. And it wasn't because they were tight with my aunt. It was my grandmother. She wanted to visit her daughter. Now, my dad had an older brother by 10 years, but there was no way Casimir was going to drive that far, not for family. Anyway, he was the black sheep of the family, so no one really wanted to ask him anyhow. That left the job to my dad every time, every trip. One important thing to remember is that we're talking about the early 1950s. No interstate highways, not so many miles per gallon of gas, flat tires, and a 13-hour trip, if there were no delays. The way I figured it, they must have left on Friday after work, maybe 5 o'clock, and then arrive early Saturday morning. Then they would sleep. By the time they got up, it was almost like time to turn around and go back, right? Because Sunday morning they'd have to leave really early, get back by midnight so that my dad could go to work on Monday morning. And my mom too. 5 hours of sleep after all that driving. Oh my goodness. Um, these journeys continued for 7 years, several years. Well, yeah, maybe seven, about 7 years, until my sister and I were born. But then other requests took their place, local stuff, chores, errands, maintenance projects. The stress kept building. My dad was stuck in the middle, trying to keep his mother happy while also being a good husband and father. He liked to drink before he met Mom, and I believe she might have been the only reason he didn't start again and become an alcoholic. Now, during her surgery, when his brain finally had a few hours to relax, decompress, and whatever else it did, he or it made the decision that life was too much to handle. He didn't want to deal with it anymore, didn't want to see, and his brain and body said, okie dokie. Of course, when he could see again, he realized that hiding from problems didn't make them disappear. I've had to learn that obvious lesson a few times in my life.